did everything right at the end. I enjoyed seeing the good guys with the bad guys, right over wrong, light over darkness. Then I grew up and became a grown woman. And I realized that superheroes, real superheroes, don't wear capes and have invisible airplanes. Heroes are the people like NAACP who fought for our rights and access to schools, access to better housing, and access to jobs. That's the work of real heroes. And it's this formidable organization that made it so that a young girl, a young Adrian, who was the first in her immediate family to go to college, to have the opportunity to stand here before you right now. You did. So I want to thank you for helping my family and, quite frankly, generations of black families across the country who are better off because of your work. And I want to thank President Johnson for continuing to fight. But look, here's what I know. I know you can't do this hero's work alone. I know that doing the right thing is a team sport. And I'm proud to be a member of a team, the Biden-Harris administration, that understands right from wrong and what needs to get done. And at HUD, we are doing our part. In just the past couple years, we've helped 250,000 black families buy a home. We've helped thousands of black families keep their homes when times got hard. We've provided down payment assistance to help folks who may not have family and friends to rely on. In fact, right here in this state, HUD's Housing Counseling Team is serving as founding members for a new initiative with the goal of helping 25,000 black families buy their home. And let's hear it for that. And we're seeing progress. The homeownership gap between white folk and black folk during this administration has been reduced by 13%. We know there's work to do, but we're on the right path. We've provided more support for renters to pay their rent. We've sent $50 billion to communities, and we've provided more rental vouchers for low-income folks who just need a fair shot. We've given local leaders historic levels of funding to help our homeless brothers and sisters find shelter. And I'm seeing our homeless numbers go down in different communities across the country, but I know we have work to do. We have work with our grandparents, our sisters and brothers and cousins on the street here. HUD has provided millions of dollars for HBCUs to study and research ways that we can improve the housing condition of black people across this country. And that's money well spent. And we are fighting appraisal rights. You know, we should not have to, listen, we should not have to take down pictures of our grandparents, pictures of our parents, pictures of our children's wedding to make sure we're getting a fair appraisal of our house. Take our books down to make sure that we're getting a fair appraisal on our house. And let me tell you something, when our president and vice president heard that this was the thing, they turned to Marsha Fudge, a bad sister, a woman I'm proud to have called my boss, and then she retired on me. And I still talk to her about that. But they turned to Marsha Fudge and Susan Rice and said, we have to figure this out. And we have been on this journey to make sure that we're not just working to make sure people are empowered with information. People thought that that's what you did. That's not what you did. That was wrong. We gave them an avenue to figure out where they should go, but even more than that, we just settled the case with a group called the Appraisal Foundation to force them to diversify. This is an industry that is less than 1% of black and brown folk. And we said, you need to look like America. And that's what we do. And this is just some of the work we're doing to really be about helping black and brown communities. We're getting housing built so people can live in places they can afford and neighborhoods with good schools. We're working to eliminate lead paint and other hazards from homes so our babies don't get sick. So when we talk about our collective legacy, about what drives us to action, what keeps us moving forward, it's not the people who think that this work doesn't matter. It's not the people who tell us that our communities are doomed. It's not the people who don't want us to build more housing for people who don't have a lot of money. It's not the people who think that this extreme heat that I know I'm feeling here, I'm sure you are too, that we're somehow this is in our imagination. What drives me and my colleagues is the generations of Americans. The legacy we're building requires us to ask ourselves, when we look back at this critical moment in history, what will people say of us? What will we be proud of? Look, my colleagues and I know that there is more work to do. And that's why today HUD has awarded $325 million to cities and towns across the country to help restore affordable housing, build new housing, and support small businesses. And that includes $50 million right here in Las Vegas. It's why our president is announcing actions today to help American people with their high rents. And why we're investing to build more affordable housing for us to rent and for us to survive. Folks, HUD remains committed to our communities. We remain committed to fairness. We remain committed to justice. And we are committed to people who just need a little bit of help to get by, just looking for a fair shot. We are making sure this country lives up to not just its ideals, but to building a legacy that has a home for everybody. Because we have come too far to turn back now. We need you to be all in, and I promise you, we are all in with you. Thank you, NAACP. Keep being the heroes that we are, and let's keep fighting together. Thank you.
Welcome to the stage next. Please welcome Assistant Attorney General of the Civil Rights Division of the Department of Justice. Here is Kristen Clark.
Good afternoon. It is a privilege to be here today at the 115th NAACP National Convention. This convention's theme, All In, reminds us of the members of our movement who risked their lives and their freedom to advance the cause of justice. Thurgood Marshall narrowly escaped lynching. Dr. King assassinated. John Lewis beaten within an inch of his life. Medgar Evers murdered. Countless others killed, beaten, and imprisoned. While I hope that none of us are ever asked to bear such risk, we should remember the sacrifices of those who came before us as we measure what all in means in today's fight for justice and what we must do to honor their legacy. And I want to turn to some of the work that we are doing right now to honor that legacy at the U.S. Department of Justice. The Civil Rights Act of 1964, the Voting Rights Act of 1966, 65, the Fair Housing Act, the Matthew Shepard and James Byrd Hate Crimes Prevention Act, and other federal laws give us an array of tools to fight discrimination and to safeguard our constitutional rights. And we use these tools every day to confront the injustices and inequities that flow from discrimination wherever we find them. One area of our work that remains a critical priority for the Justice Department is ensuring that law enforcement officials carry out their jobs lawfully and without bias. Our fight to ensure constitutional, fair, and non-discriminatory policing remains as urgent as ever. We have prosecuted officers who abused their power, including those tied to the tragic deaths of George Floyd in Minneapolis, Tyree Nichols in Memphis, and Breonna Taylor in Louisville. We have prosecuted 6 former officers who tortured and viciously abused 2 black men in Rankin County, Mississippi. This group called themselves the Goon Squad, and they carried out one of the most heinous acts of brutality that we have seen in this century. The lead defendant was sentenced to 40 years in prison. We have investigated law enforcement agencies engaged in a pattern or practice of conduct that violates the Constitution, including in Minneapolis, Louisville, Memphis, New York City, Louisiana, and Lexington, Mississippi. Just last month, we announced our findings that the city of Phoenix and its police department have engaged in a pattern or practice of unlawful conduct, including discrimination against Black, Hispanic, and Native American people when enforcing the law, and using excessive force, including deadly force. Wherever we find violations, we invite leaders, community members, and other stakeholders like the NAACP to work with us to chart a path to reform. Another core mission of the Justice Department is protecting the right to vote. Sadly, we can't ignore voter suppression laws that are spreading like poison ivy across the country. Discriminatory and burdensome restrictions on access to the ballot are undermining the rights of Black voters and voters of color. But that's not stopping us. We have filed suits across the country, including over 30 statements of interest in cases, because we believe that every eligible American should be able to exercise their voice in our democracy. We're also working to confront the unfortunate rise in hate crimes that we're seeing. We have charged more than 120 defendants with hate crimes in over 110 cases since January of 2021. Those numbers include the 3 men who tragically killed Ahmaud Arbery simply because he was Black. Those numbers include the defendant responsible for the heinous murder of 10 Black people at the Top Supermarket in Buffalo, New York, and a defendant responsible for the tragic murder of a Black trans woman named Dime Doe in South Carolina. We do this work because racially motivated, white supremacist, anti-LGBTQI+, xenophobic, Islamophobic, anti-Semitic acts of hatred and violence have no place in our democracy today. We're also ramping up the fight for environmental justice. We know that climate change disproportionately affects communities of color. For example, in 2021, the EPA found that Black Americans are 34% more likely to live in areas with unacceptably high projected increases in childhood asthma diagnoses. We have launched multiple investigations to ensure that no one's ability to live a healthy life is dictated by their race or their zip code. Last May, we secured a groundbreaking settlement to ensure that the residents of Lowndes County, Alabama have access to safe and effective septic and wastewater management systems. Whether we are talking about lead wastewater, illegal dumping, or exposure to raw sewage, we cannot tolerate these injustices in our communities today. And we're working to ensure that the gateways to opportunity and the ability to amass generational wealth are open to all. And we're doing this by working to end modern-day redlining. Our Combating Redlining initiative, launched with the leadership of Attorney General Merrick Garland, has brought more than $122 million in relief to communities all across the country. We're working to also address appraisal discrimination, which the Secretary just talked about a moment ago. Too many of our jails and prisons woefully mistreat incarcerated people, and we're also striving to end this. For example, in an investigation, we recently found that Parchman Prison in Mississippi failed to provide adequate mental health treatment, failed to take sufficient suicide prevention measures, subjected people to prolonged solitary confinement in egregious conditions, and more. We do this work because people do not surrender their rights at the jailhouse door. NAACP, this is just a small sample of our work. As I close, I want to note that through our efforts to protect civil rights, we recognize that an all-in fight for equality requires just that. All of us. Never has that been truer than it is right now. As one of the great founders of the NAACP once noted, W.E.B. Du Bois, now is the accepted time, not tomorrow, not some more convenient season. It is today that our best work can be done, and not some future day or future year. It is today that we fit ourselves for the greater usefulness of tomorrow. Today is the seed time. Now are the hours of work, and tomorrow comes the harvest. So NAACP, I promise you that the Justice Department, the People's Justice Department, will continue to stand alongside you and all those who work and fight for equal justice in our country. We will not give up. We will not wait for some more convenient season. We are all in now, and we will remain all in until we can reap the harvest. Thank you.
Next is Senior Advisor to the President of the United States. Please welcome Stephen Benjamin.
That's some pretty cool walkout music, Congressman. I'm not sure what that was. I'm going to be very brief. I served as senior advisor to the president. I run public engagement at the White House. My first real title was as president of the Youth and College Division of the South Carolina NAACP. And my parents, my Congressman Jim Powell will tell you that titles don't make leaders. Leaders are servants. And to think about it, and I'm here, honestly, in my capacity, my friend Derek Johnson, who I met as a youth leader here, asked me to say some things on behalf of the incredible, diverse leadership that our president has assembled across the administration, but certainly at the White House. I think of the president's wisdom. And I think of my grandfather, Sam Benjamin. My grandfather, like many of your parents, was not an educated man. He wasn't a man of letters. He didn't go to college. He did the degrees that we all have, but he was a Christian man. He would often teach me and my brothers the lessons that we need to know to survive in life. He often wrote in the book of Joshua, chapter 24, he talked about how Joshua renewed the covenant at Shechem. I assembled all the leaders, the elders, and the judges. He began to recount from all the things that God had done for them up to that point. I said Moses and Aaron to deliver them from Egypt. I delivered that and Babylon, the Amorites and the Perizzites and the Hittites, and the Hivites, and the Girgashites, and the Jebusites, and the children of Jericho, all the things that God had done for them up to that point. He said, I'll give you a land for which you did not toil, in cities you did not live, and that you live in them, and eat from olive groves and vineyards that you did not plant. I'll give you a land for which you did not toil, in cities you did not live, and that you live in them. That's my daddy's long way of saying, boy, no matter how smart you think you are, no matter how talented you might think you are, no matter how you may think that life has been served up in a silver platter, you didn't get here on your own. You didn't get here on your own. There's a price that you must pay for the opportunities you've been given in life. You made sure I knew about the people who marched for me and didn't know me. The people who cried for me had no idea I'd ever exist. The people who kicked down the doors of the University of South Carolina in 1963 had no idea that Maggie Sam's happy little boy was going to go there someday. The people that died for me and didn't even know my name. So I'm here on behalf of all of us at the White House to say thank you, NAACP. Thank you for fighting the fight. Thank you for never stopping fighting the fight on behalf of all of us. Paying our debt to the generations behind us and paying our debt forward to the generations yet unborn. Now, before I take my seat, I'm going to ask one more of my colleagues coming out. Kareem? No? Yeah. Kareem. Does an amazing job. On behalf of the president of your dad. Fight the fight. Tell the story on behalf of the American people. Wherever you are across the globe and you want to hear what's happening in the United States of America, this is our president, our vice president telling the story. It's Kareem Jean-Pierre. We're not going to end it today. We're in a different mode. But I just want to make sure you see her up close and personal. Fighting the fight. Thank you. God bless you.
It's one thing to thrive, but it's another thing to do it for us. What does it mean to be Black and thriving? It means basking in our culture, our unique influence, our rhythm of joy. It means celebrating our community, our alma maters, our villages of pride and excellence. It means taking center stage, painting the town black, setting the standard on what it takes to be bold, talented, and revered. It means putting Black America first. No need for beginner's luck. We've been doing this. For culture, for community. We stand in the gap. We stand firm in our contributions, past and present. We advocate. We represent. We recognize. And when we vote, and vote, and vote again to make democracy work for Black America. And we make that happen because of you, because of us, because of them. We make good happen for culture, for community.
Please welcome NAACP President and CEO, Derek Johnson.
Share space with faces we know and those who we hope to know better. To our members, this convention is for you. From Arkansas to Alaska, the NAACP runs on people power. Because Black Americans know that our community is what carries us forward. To our friends at the National Bar Association, thank you for your decades of partnership and advocacy on behalf of the Black community in courthouses throughout the country. And to the members of the CBC, the conscience of the Congress. Your leadership, your voice, your advocacy, your understanding of how public policy must improve the quality of life for African Americans, and let me correct that, for Americans across the country has propelled this nation forward in perfecting democracy. 4 years ago, the world was forced to bear witness to a reality that may have been new to them, but was all too familiar to us. The death of George Floyd was a tragedy that is all too familiar to the countless others that have ripped apart Black families, communities across the country. George Floyd was not the first, and if we don't get police reform, it will not be the last. While the world reckoned with the reality of racism, because many of them woke up one day and realized racism actually existed. Although it often manifested itself in the form of unspeakable violence against Black people, whether it was Emmett Till or the church bombing of the 4 little girls in Birmingham, or in countless other stories. This time, some said they were prepared to change course. Some made empty promises. With NAACP and legal advocates like Ben Crump, we took action. In 2020, our community worked together to empower one another, reminding each other that we have the ability to determine our destiny. But the Black vote made a difference in 2020. And determining our destiny, we did, casting deciding ballots in the national, local, and state elections 4 years later. And there is much that has been accomplished by and for our community. But the history of this nation has taught us that not everyone shares the same investment in a progressive vision. For some, the notion of progress is seen as a threat to the imbalance of power that has allowed them to prosper, while others are left in hurt. The rejection of collective advancement and achievement has created division, pitting community against community, breeding extremist ideologies that leaves no room for compromise or conversation. After the abolishment of slavery, it was Jim Crow. After the Civil Rights Act, it was the war on drugs. After the election of the first Black president, it was Make America Great Again. And now, after the racial reckoning that a black man lost his life, that all of us seen on social media platforms, on cable news, on broadcast news, the response is Project 2025. Over the past 4 years, we've worked to make education more equitable and accessible while widening the opportunity to increase economic output through organizing, advancing, and working with the current administration to cancel over $160 billion in student debt. Teachers for the first time qualify for home ownership or increasing the quality of housing stock that they are able to get for their families. However, Project 2025 not only seeks to revert that progress, but to dismantle the Department of Education that provides a pathway to opportunity for all Americans. But the plan to solve on education does not stop there. Project 2025 seeks to return back the rights to states. For those of us who live in the South, we know when the dog whistle of state rights, what it truly means. And they're seeking through this states' rights approach to gut Title I, which would lead to the divestment of our public schools, hitting our community hardest. What would this nation be without a public education system for all children providing quality education? And to those who have yet to see book bans in their states, Project 2025 plans to enact those bans nationwide. This is not a fictional concept. This is a 900-page manifesto that seeks to undermine progress, promote violence, and inflict harm on our community. But they must know that in NAACP, we will be here for that fight. This election is not about candidate A versus candidate B or political party A or political party B. We are nonpartisan, but we are political as hell. And we know that this is a fight we must take on. So when people try to give you these false narratives or distract you, let's stay focused not on the people, but the policy priorities they represent, and vote for those who are aligning themselves with what's in the best interest of our community. And I can assure you, if you do that, it's in the best interest of America. The black community has saved democracy many times before, and we're being called on to save democracy once again. They must know that we are all in on making college more affordable for all. They should know that we are all in on fighting for a reality where black history is recognized because it is American history. I guess they don't know the history of NAACP. After being in this fight for 115 years, we will not turn back. We will continue the fight, and we will win this battle. We are not obsessed, and we're not taking time. They need to know that we're all in. A reality for all Americans. But we must recognize that this requires work on our end. While they may not be like us, we have to make them think like us. We have to band together the way they do. We must come together. We don't have a time for us versus us public fight. We only have time for a us for us saving of this democracy. deserve. Equal protection of the law isn't a concept, it's a guarantee that we must keep intact in our Constitution. Now, we've experienced that what we feel like to have, we've experienced what it feels like to have the doors shut in our face, or our voices stifled by the divisive noise. We know that change is possible when doors are open, and how our culture shines through those doors when individuals like Steve Benjamin sit in the seat he's sitting, or Michael Regan sits in the seat that he's sitting, or Kareem sits in the seat that she's sitting, because we will operate in excellence to ensure that this concept of democracy is protected, it grows, and it's inclusive. We're not asking for perfection. We're asking for platforms that empower, not imprison. We're asking for leaders who don't shut the door on our face or drown out our rallying cries. And while there is a lot of work to be done, I am proud to welcome a leader who doesn't shut the door in our face, but turns up the volume when speaking. A leader who may not always get it right, but is all in on getting it done. And with that being said, I am honored to welcome the 46th President of the United States of America, Joseph R. Biden.
President Johnson, thanks for the introduction and for your leadership, most of all for your friendship. Thanks to all the thousands of members across America. One of the most important organizations in our country. A special thanks, I mean this sincerely, to the members of Congress who are here, including Nevada's own Stephen Horstman, Chair of the Congressional Black Caucus. I don't know where he is, but I know he's out there. As so many members of the CBC members defending freedom, like Benny Thompson of Mississippi, Chair of the January 6th Committee. The best friend anyone can have, Jim Clyburn of South Carolina. In case you didn't notice, Jim turned around. Look, June of 1947, Harry Truman became the first president to speak at this convention. And he was remembered for a lot of things. To help the NAACP, he desegregated the military. He laid the groundwork for the civil rights agenda. He built upon President Kennedy by that. President Johnson signed the Civil Rights Act of '64, 60 years ago. Harry Truman was president. He was often counted out. He was also known for something else. The story goes, Truman said, "You want a friend in Washington? Get a dog." Guess what? After the last couple weeks, I know what he means. But that's why it's so good to have real friends. I'm not being solicitous. I have real friends. So many of you had my back, but I think I've had yours as well. I said a couple dollar folks here still. One of my best friends used to, when I was a lifeguard in projects, he was, his nickname was Mouse. Mouse, you better. Ended up running along loyal as hell. I'm truly honored to be here. It is this tense moment in this country. It is a tense moment. Just a few days after the assassination attempt on Donald Trump, we're grateful he was not seriously injured. We continue to pray for him and his family. It's time for an important conversation in this country. Our politics has gotten too heated. I said the Oval Office on Sunday night, as I made clear throughout my presidency, we all have a responsibility to lower the temperature and condemn violence in any form. You gotta remember, America went out of enemies, for friends, for neighbors, for fellow Americans. Most importantly, was fully and firmly reject not only physical violence, but violence of any kind. Period. No exception. I have to say with one voice, violence is not the answer. That's what we should rally around as a nation. That's the unity I'm talking about. Two organizations know that better than the NAACP. When the race riots in Springfield, Illinois in 1908, the NAACP was formed. That's what started it. You know the pain, the price of violence. To understand, if we're going to talk about standing against violence, we must stand against all violence. We must stand against violence perpetrated against presidential candidates in Pennsylvania. We must stand against all violence. Violence perpetrated against George Floyd in Minnesota. Against black veterans like police officers, Eugene Goodman, January 6th. Black election workers like Kirby Freeman, Shane Moss in Atlanta. That's to stand against the violence and intimidation, white supremacy, the murder, innocent lives in a grocery store in Buffalo, New York when I went up there. Mother Emanuel Church in Charleston, South Carolina. Stand against the violence of murdered children in Sandy Hook and Uvalde. Concert goers in Las Vegas. Innocents on the street all across America that never make the news. There's Uvalde every day in the communities across the country. Go to the outspoken on one, don't be silent on others. We're going to speak about violence. We're going to speak about guns. More children in America die of a gunshot wound than any other reason that studying that is sick. And it's sheer cowardice if we do nothing about it. So, we want to stand against violence in America and join me in getting these weapons of war off the streets of America. Donald Trump. This was an assault weapon that killed so many others, including children. It's time to outlaw them. I did it once and I will do it again. Now, just because we must lower the temperature in our politics and rage of violence, it doesn't mean we should stop telling the truth. Who you are, what you've done, what you'll do, that's fair game. As Harry Truman said, I've never delivered to giving anyone hell. I just told the truth and they thought it was hell. That's what you do. Here's the truth about why Donald Trump's presidency was hell for Black America. He tried to repeal Obamacare. He kicked millions of Black Americans off their health insurance. He had a $2 trillion tax cut to lower $1 million benefits to super wealthy, the biggest corporation, and exploded the federal debt larger than any one president has in one term. He left no room for us to do what we should be doing. Invest in things that affect people's lives, like child care, elder care, and so much more that grow the economy to help people. His mismanagement of the pandemic was especially devastating to Black communities. I know other countries, other communities would call it. That economic crisis drove up Black unemployment, decimated small Black businesses, and you peacefully protested. George Floyd's murder, Donald Trump called for the National Guard to go after him. What the hell's the matter with this man? I'm serious. Go figure. A guy who started the birth of a lie against Barack Obama saying he wasn't born in America and he wasn't a U.S. citizen. Of course, here's what he thinks of black jobs. I love this phrase, black jobs. It tells a lot about the man and about his character. Folks, I know what a black job is. It's the Vice President of the United States. We've got so much done. Seriously, the president's historian said we've gotten more done on consequence than any president since Franklin Roosevelt. Just think about where the black community was when I came to office. Think about how far the black community has come. We still got a long way to go. COVID no longer controls our lives. Our economy is not literally the strongest economy in the world. Historic worldwide unemployment. Record growth of black small business. Let me say this again, because Trump is lying like hell about it. Black unemployment hit a record low under Biden-Harris administration. There's no cash with the $1,400 checks plus $300 checks per child, per family, per month in the pockets of people in this country. To get them through the pandemic. Not Trump's administration. Kamala did that. We put more money in the pockets than anyone. We cut back, and the consequence, we cut black child poverty in half. And when we finally get through to people, my economic policy grows the economy, which is money. Grows it. We grew the American economy to the strongest in the world. And I'm determined to make that tax cut permanent. No child should ever go hungry in America. By the way, all the data shows we can't let them tell us we drive up deficits. They drive up deficits. When you have child care, guess what? Mom or dad can work. And the child can be safe. We're connecting black neighborhoods. They were cut off with old highways and disinvestment decades ago. My city, Wilmington, Delaware, I-95 runs up through what used to be the black community, divided, 6 lanes wide. We're going to make sure that the stage one, we're going to be able to pave over at the top of that and still have the highway. Connecting neighborhoods. We're removing the It's costly. Every poisonous lead pipe in the house in America, so every child could drink clean water. Without further brain damage. We're delivering high-speed and affordable broadband. No child should have to sit out in the parking lot with their moms in front of McDonald's so they get online to do their homework. Because of you, not only protecting Obamacare, you allowed me to increase it, making health care more affordable, and by the way, more than it's ever been, millions of African Americans have now had health care because of it. We're putting home ownership within reach. How do you generate generational wealth, no matter what community you're from? I know how we did it. Everything got stuck in Scranton, we no job. Moved to Delaware. Dad worked like hell to get down payment to buy a small house. That's how you build equity. As small as a 3-bedroom split-level home with 4 kids and grandpa movements, but it was a home, and he was able to build some equity. Look, we make the most significant investment in climate ever in all of history. Including the most significant action on environmental justice ever. Look, folks, think about this. My state of Delaware, not many don't know my state. My state of Delaware has the Delaware River runs up and but at the top of the state, there's a half moon, and it comes up along 4 oil refineries on the other side of that half moon in Marcus area and anywhere in the country, including Houston. And guess what? Wind blows southeast. We had the highest cancer rate for the longest time. But you know who's affected? Fence line communities. You know the fence line communities are black communities. I promise, as we make this legislation work, we're going to take care of those communities first. First. I mean it. Same thing in Louisiana, same thing in other places. Look, we released student debt for more than $4 billion. Significant amount of black card. I don't know how many have called me and say, Mr. President, I've gotten phone numbers, I've called them back. Mr. President, thank you. Couldn't get married. Debt was so large. Couldn't have children. No, I'm serious, you know it. Couldn't buy food. But what you did, you freed me of my debt, and you gave me $10,000 for a down payment on a home. This project, 2024, 2025, is not a deal. You know, he talks about education. HBCUs are as good as any other university. That's serious. Not a joke. Tom and I have a constant fight. She says Howard's the best. I say Delaware State's the best. That's what I'm saying. My point is this. They don't have the endowment. What are the jobs of the future? The high-tech jobs of the future. You're going to pay a lot of money. They don't have the money for the laboratories. They don't have the money for all that material. So that's why I've invested a record $16 billion in HBCUs. Making sure that no one goes to jail for the mere use or possession of marijuana. The record should be astonished. Hold them back. All told because of you. NAACP made the most significant investments in Black America ever in all of history. We've seen the results. The racial wealth gap is the lowest it's been in 20 years. Inflation is down. 3 years and coming down further, and we're going to have, as they say, a soft landing. Folks, you're going to see us grow faster and faster. That's not just my view. It's the view of 16 Nobel Prize winning economists who put out a statement. looking at my economic plan and Trump's, is that my plan will continue to lower inflation, continue to grow the economy. Prices are falling. Cars, appliances, groceries. We're going to keep corporate greed at bay. But here's the thing, what I said about Trump. They said his policies will cause a recession. Oh, these are not a Democratic outfit. 16 Nobel laureates. Look, I come from the corporate state of the world, Delaware. I know how they work. The more corporations incorporated in my state than any state in America, all combined. But that's what? You have to deal with corporate greed now. Oh, it is. Corporate profits are double since the pandemic. They keep bringing prices down. We have to bring prices down too. Look, folks, the idea that corporate-owned housing is able to raise your rent $300-400 a month. I'm about to announce they can't raise it more than $55. That's the big thing. Bottom line is, let's get started. We know it's not enough to talk about the past. We need a vision for the future. Here's my plan for the first 100 days of the second term. Tom and I are calling on Congress to pass the John Lewis Voting Rights Act. I did all I was constantly able to do with executive authority, but we need the act. And we need to pass the Freedom to Vote Act. I'll sign the vote into law immediately. And guess what? Come hell or high water, we're going to restore Roe v. Wade as the law of the land. I know it's Joe, man of the Congress. But guess what? You all told me I couldn't pass the Inflation Reduction Act. You all told me I couldn't basically, anyway. Yeah. Your help. Republicans blocked police reform in Congress. So I signed a historic executive order on police reform. And I'm going to come back and sign George Floyd and police enacting the law. I'm going to stop them in their program on 2025. I'm going to stop them from cutting Social Security and Medicare. I'm going to expand Social Security and Medicare by making them very wealthy begin to pay their fair share. And then next time, as I said, we're going to build 2 million affordable homes. Cap rent increases of 5% a year so corporate landlords can't God and get very upset. And we're going to keep relieving student debt. And medical debt. Coordination of medical debt can no longer be put on a credit report. Our normal states will wait on medical debt for pennies on the dollar so it's not hanging over you the rest of your life. We raised the federal minimum wage. Our first term capped the cost of insulin procedures at $35. Total drug cost procedure beginning in 2024-5 at $2,000. And some of those cancer drugs are $10, $12, $14,000 a year. But the second term, we're going to do that for not just seniors, for everyone in America. By the way, not only saves lives, it'll save taxpayers. Guess what I did on the first round on dealing with Medicare? Saves the taxpayer $160 billion. They don't have to pay for the exorbitant prices. This year, Medicare is negotiating lower prices for some of the costliest drugs in the market. That threats everything. That treats everything from heart disease to arthritis. In the next term, I want to go further. Give Medicare the power to negotiate lower prices for 50 drugs a year, not 10. That not only will save lives, Yesterday they saved the taxpayer another $200 billion. This is saving taxpayer money. By the way, if you notice, all the stuff they said big spending Biden, we have lowered the deficit nowadays. We've increased economic growth. Folks, here's what else I'm determined to do. Determined to end Trump's tax cuts for the very wealthy big corporation. Make the tax code fair. Ease the burden on working people. I kept my commitment that no one making less than $400,000 I never saw in my life till I got elected president. They pay a penny more in federal taxes. But here's the deal. We have in America, since the pandemic, 1,000 millionaires. 1,000. How much in federal tax they pay? 8.2%. That's the federal tax, 8.2%. We're going to make billionaires pay now 25%. No billionaires should pay the lower tax rate for the teacher, a firefighter, a nurse, a janitor. That's simply ridiculous. And when we do that, that alone will generate $500 billion in revenue over the next 10 years. Allowing us to lower costs for families and save the government money. We can do more on elder care, child care, bring down the federal deficit, so much more. It's not rocket science, folks. But they've convinced us that any spending the money is costly. It's saving money. Like God's truth is saving money. It's vitally important. Now, the next president of the United States could appoint 2 or more justices to the Supreme Court. Just imagine. I know this case. Folks, my vision of the future will continue to be all about working people in this nation. All that, my whole career, go back and look at it. I'm not been perfect by any stretch of the imagination. But a simple proposition to my actual neighborhood. Everybody deserves a shot. Just a shot. No guarantee. Give hate no safe harbor. Leave no one behind. That's a stark contrast to my predecessor, Megan Fisher. They'll do everything, undo everything the NAACP stands for. But now they're trying to deny it. They're lying about their Project 2025. They want to deny your freedom to vote, have your own cabinet. They impose a nationwide ban on abortion. New Vice President, you already doubt, man. Just take a look at what he's been saying. They want to prosecute political enemies. They want to cut Social Security and Medicare. Rip away protection for millions of pre-existing conditions, over 400 million people. Stop Medicare from negotiating lower prescription drug prices. Risking people's lives, costing the government more money. They eliminate the Department of Education. Oh, you ought to read it. Saying it's a state issue. Give me a break, state. You know how well we do with the states. We would cut school lunches. Eliminate the Head Start program for lower-income children. Allow boys to stop paying overtime. Employers, stop paying, catch this one, stop paying overtime to hourly workers. Just such good. But give the very wealthy and big corporations new taxes. They've already eviscerated affirmative action. They've also decimated diversity, equity, and inclusion all across American life. We're already trying to do it by banning books, trying to erase Black history. Black history is American history. You cannot let that happen. That's why it's so important to me, to make Juneteenth a federal holiday. People don't know what happened. That's why I made federal lynching a federal hate crime in Emmett Till's memory, and that's what you've been reminded. I'm going to try to do, as well as establish national monuments for Mamie and Emmett Till. So much more. So there's no doubt about what's happening. Look, folks, as I said before, we know Black history is American history. It's as simple as that. Let me close with this. Mom tells us, I've been young and I'm old. We have not seen the righteous forsaken. Not seen the righteous forsaken. And I will not see the righteous forsaken. Hopefully, today, I've demonstrated a little bit of wisdom. Here's what I do know. I know how to tell the truth. I know right from wrong. I know how to do this job. I know the good Lord hasn't brought us this far to leave us now. There's more work to do. This is not what we did. The work we've been doing through hundreds of thousands of volunteers, through millions of people to make their voices heard. They will determine America's future for decades to come. Folks, that's important. We must all be defenders for freedom, justice, equality, and the bedrock of democracy. There's been no more important voice in that truth than the voices of the Black community. I mean, when Americans fail to live up what we say we believe, you don't give up hope, nor do I. We've always loved this country. Anyone who has not loved us back. We work hard as hell. Just think about it. Our children, your children, grandchildren. Ask yourself, what America do you want to leave you? My answer is America hope, fairness, opportunity, possibility. Look, I spent more time with Xi Jinping of China than any other world leader. I was with him in China on the steps of the mountain. And he looked at me and he said, "Can you define America?" I said, "God's truth." I said, "Recorded." I said, "Yes, in one word, America. Possibility. Nothing is beyond our capacity. America was full of promises available to everybody. America, where races and violence are no longer the ghost that too long haunted the nation. Folks, it's about you and your families. And everything NAACP has stood for generations. Freedom, democracy, America. Always marching, always believing, always keeping the faith. We're going to do this. So let me ask you, are you all in? I'm all in. Yes, who we are. We are the United States of America. And there's nothing beyond our capacity to do it together. And let's stay together. God bless you all. And God
Attention all attendees. Attention all. Please remain for this announcement. First, members of the resolution. Please exit to the Mandalay Ballroom now. We welcome you to the 150th NAACP convention. Next, we will proceed to Mandalay Bay Ballroom. The resolution session will be held.